Welcome to another Tempo Storm Meta Snapshot breakdown. The latest mini set, Return to Naxxramas, has finally been released, bringing us back to a lot of Hearthstone players' favorite place. While the cards might not be as meta-defining as the original Naxxramas cards were, the set has definitely had an impact. As a preview, the winners of the mini set were Death Knight and Shaman, and new archetypes in other classes are struggling to keep up with the current top performers. As always, before we dive into the meta, we want to invite you to check out the meta report over on tempostorm.com for a full analysis of the meta. Now, let's talk about the changes. Leading off Tier 1 is Frost Death Knight. This archetype is far and away the best deck in the game, with some players going so far as to say that it has no bad matchups. The deck is consistent and can overwhelm opponents with ease. The true MVP here is Construct Quarter, which has changed the deck from a burn game plan to a minion-based list. The card has even allowed Frost Death Knight to overtake Evolve Shaman for the top spot in the meta, proving just how strong it really is. Frost Death Knight excels against Miracle Rogue and Unholy Death Knight, and even though some maintain that the deck has no truly bad matchups, Mind Warlock has proven difficult for the deck to deal with. The next deck making an appearance in Tier 1 is the previously mentioned Evolve Shaman. The archetype was overperforming thanks to a bugged interaction, but even after the bug was hotfixed, the deck has still proven its worth on the field. The deck is incredibly consistent, which one probably wouldn't expect from a deck based around random interactions. While the archetype didn't receive much support from the mini set, the one card that it did receive pushed the archetype to new heights. Evolve Shaman has a great matchup spread, with its best matchups coming from Mind Warlock and Unholy Death Knight. On the other hand, it doesn't really have bad matchups, with its worst ones coming in at around 50% for either side. This is the nature of RNG heavy decks. You can find a win in nearly any spot with a little bit of luck. The last deck that we're taking a look at in Tier 1 this time is Unholy Death Knight. It might be surprising for a lot of players to see Death Knight performing so well, seeing as how badly it struggled on launch, but make no mistake, the class is absolutely dominating right now. Much like in Frost Death Knight's case, Construct Quarter is propelling this deck to the top, coupled with cards such as Foul Egg that give you a consistent target for the location. The deck's explosive starts let Unholy Death Knight shine against a lot of the Tier 3 and lower decks, as well as against anything that isn't super refined. That concludes our look into Tier 1. As always, we're going to take a brief look at the top performing decks from the second tier as well. Before we jump in, we want to invite you to check out the rest of our meta snapshot over at tempostorm.com for a more comprehensive look into the standard meta. Now, let's talk about Tier 2. The one leading the charge in this tier is Miracle Rogue. While the archetype may have fallen from the top of the meta, and while it didn't get any new cards, it's clearly still performing. Cassie's list continues to be featured due to its versatility. The deck doesn't have the most visually appealing matchup spread, but its consistency against most decks gives it a 50% win rate at worst. Although against Mind Warlock, it puts up a staggering 70% spread. Speaking of which, Mind Warlock clocks in at the bottom of Tier 2. It can be one of the most rewarding decks to master, as the burst damage potential is insanely high. You can combo opponents out of seemingly nowhere with little counterplay. Mind Warlock performs best against both Frost and Unholy Death Knight because they give you time to assemble your combo. But on the flip side, you'll find yourself struggling to keep up with Miracle Rogue due to their insanely large threats that you typically can't answer. Their starts are often so explosive, you'll be questioning which one of you is running the bombs. That concludes our look at the Hearthstone standard meta in today's Meta Snapshot breakdown. If you enjoyed this look at the meta, we once again invite you to visit tempostorm.com for a full rundown. We hope you enjoyed the latter, and we will see you next time.